At what point do I stop fighting for my relationship? Welcome to the Therapy Brothers podcast.
I'm Brannon.
I'm Tyler.
We're brothers,
We're therapists.
and we know recovery.
Bring your stories, your questions, your successes with real recovery.
Hey, Tyler, you ready to have some hard conversations?
Let's do it.
Let the Therapy Brothers podcast begin. How's it going, Tyler?
Going good, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. You got a busy week ahead of you?
This is at the point of that we're filming this right now. I'm literally today and tomorrow of work, and then I get to go on the trip that I look forward to all year long. We go backpacking in the Wind River Mountains in Wyoming for 5 days, 4 days. And so I'm kind of on the eve of that trip right now. And that's kind of all been all consuming all weekend. I got meticulously plan out what to pack on which horse, and like it's probably more of an addiction than it should be. So
Hey, just enjoy it.
I love it.
Don't judge it. Just enjoy it.
I love it. And I'm really looking forward to it. So yeah, so that's what's going on right now on my plate. So
That sounds good. Oh,
yeah.
just
Yeah.
living the dream. My bro lives the dream. I love it.
Eventually I'm gonna try to get you out there with me on one of these trips.
I'm just waiting for the invite.
So from what I understand, you're in the kind of shape that you could probably just like out hike me to death now because you've been training for a marathon.
Oh,
Maybe that's
yeah,
another
yeah.
topic.
Not
So,
even close. Yeah,
yeah.
that is another topic. So
yeah. Well, Brannon, let's jump in today. We've got Jennifer with us. Jennifer, thank you for being on the show and willing to come on today. Would you just kind of give us some of your backstory and then ask your question, and we'll get started?
Yeah. So we've been kind of going through the healing process from my partner's porn addiction for the last 3 years. He actually is he's in recovery from drugs, hard drugs for a good most of his life, and he finally recovered from that. He got clean, and it was a big it was big, and
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, I'm very proud of him for that.
has it been a while that he's been clean?
He's been clean for 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So he went to kind of like a men's recovery facility. But once he was out of there after a couple months, there wasn't really any like work done. He just, I'm clean, I'm free. And so after he was clean for about 6 months, he got his children back. They were 13 and 14. And since then, it's been kind of rough because I don't think that emotionally he was ready to take that on, but we did the best that we could, and then about a year later, I had discovered the porn addiction. And we started out seeing a counselor. Wasn't the right kind of counselor. And so for about a year or two, we were just not seeing the right people. And we were attending other recovery programs. We were part of CR, and but it just wasn't, it wasn't working. It wasn't fixing anything. So
can I ask you, when you say that, like, was there just a lot of contention in the relationship, broken trust? Like,
what wasn't working?
Yeah.
Well, he was still acting out, and I was still just traumatized and hurt, and we didn't have the steps or you know we didn't know what to do.
Gotcha.
Shortly after he got off of drugs, he decided to start a business. It was a painting business, and it was very, very successful the first 2 years until recession hit and the paint presses went up. And but he, purchased a work vehicle, and he did so many things that he had never ever been able to do before. And when he lost that, he just kind of got depressed, I guess. But ever since he's been clean off of drugs, he's a musician. He's very talented. We decided to join join the worship band at our church. We helped start the church, and so we're leaders in the worship group. And but he just the last couple years, I feel like it's been just kind of focused on him. We've never really been able to save any money, and when we do, it goes towards his music stuff. We have a music room at the house, and just about everything in there. I mean, we have thousands of dollars of things that he's gotten for himself, and we have nothing for us to do as a family because of that. And right now we're in a situation where I asked him to leave his rock band. There was a member that I had walked behind one day. He was in our house, and he had some images on his phone that I wasn't comfortable with. And then also it was just taking away time from the family. He doesn't ever seem to have time to do family stuff and recovery things, and the band was a priority, and he doesn't feel like it's fair that he feels like I'm taking his passion away from him because he can't play in this rock band. And there's just, I don't know, there's a lot of things that I feel like are hindering the healing. I feel like he's stuck on what he wants and what he wants to do. And the kids have even written him letters that they don't feel emotionally safe when they talk to him because he gets angry. And I don't know. Sometimes it's not safe here emotionally for anybody.
Okay. And to kind of go along with sort of like the original question that you started with today, Jennifer, you've been doing this for the last 2.5 years ish, just on the pornography side with being clean from drugs as well. And what you're running into, if I'm hearing you right, is that even though he's maybe staying clean, there's a heavy focus on things that are geared more inwardly with him, less on the relationship or the family. And then you're also still seeing sort of like flashes of, it sounds like, anger that don't allow you guys to connect the way that you want to. And so you're kind of to a point in your relationship where you're like, how do I move forward? Do I move forward continuing to try to work on the relationship, or do I move forward by maybe saying, hey, his priorities are more different than mine are, and maybe it's time to cut losses. Is that kind of where you're going?
Yeah, I mean, because I haven't really done my boundaries with him yet because I haven't had anyone to sit with, but we have discussed things like technology and, he likes to escape on his phone a lot. And I don't like to bring it up because it gets turned around and then I feel like I'm at fault and I'm asking too many things of him. And, um, he said that he's starting to resent me. He doesn't like to do recovery. He doesn't like to reach out to groups and talk to people. And he goes to 12-step meetings, but he said that his sponsor's wife decided to just get over it and move on. She didn't have to go through healing. And so he can't relate.
So I'm kind of hearing something here, Jennifer, that is kind of I'm wondering about. Does he do his recovery work because he wants to do his recovery work, or does he do it for you? Are you kind of driving the ship, and is he kind of just complying?
That's how it's been the last couple years, and I keep asking him and saying, you have to do this for you, but he says, well, I'll start out doing it for me, but then it always turns into I'm doing it for you. And he says it's gotten to the point where he just doesn't even like to do it anymore.
So what kind of outcome do you get if you continue to if you continue to really push him to do his recovery work? What does that do for you? Do you understand my question?
Yeah. You see, with me, I usually I'll wait a couple months and I won't really say anything. And then we have our weekly check-ins and I'll ask him just the same basic questions. And then after a couple months.
What questions? Like, what are some questions you ask?
For our check-in nights, Sunday nights, I'll ask him, what's something that you've learned that or that maybe helped you throughout the week, something new. What is
Okay.
a habit that you changed? And then what kind of recovery work did you do this week? And usually it's just like 3 questions and the answers are usually always the same. I didn't have time. I didn't think about it and I forgot. And
okay. So I can see a pattern here. Can you see the pattern here?
Yeah.
You're hoping and you're chasing this thing that I think deep down your intuition and your gut knows that he's not that into work and recovery, at least the way that you want him to, right? And but in the end, Jennifer, why do you want him to work recovery?
I mean, I guess because I need a man. I need a leader in our house.
Okay, so this is the catch-22. This is really, really hard, and we see it all the time. How will you know that he's a leader and a man in your house? How will you know that?
When I start feeling safe again,
How will you know you're safe? This is the catch-22. It's really difficult. How will you know you're safe?
I guess I'll know I'm safe when I'm able to be vulnerable, when I'm able to feel safe.
Yeah, you'll feel it from him. You'll feel strength from him. And but the way you feel strength from him is by him showing up as an honest human being. And
Yeah.
so if he's going through the motions for you, he's not being an honest human being.
Right.
And if you're jumping in and you're saying, go through these motions, here, let me give you the script here of what you're supposed to do, then you'll feel like, okay, he's just playing along, but I don't feel safe with him because it just feels like he's just playing along. And then he's admitting outright that I'm resenting you some because you're asking me to do all these things that I don't want to do. So if like, what needs to happen instead of this song and dance? Maybe Tyler, maybe you can help.
Maybe Jennifer, I have a question for you, but before I ask it, I just kind of see some things. A lot of our listeners don't get to see this, but I see some things kind of going through you right now. Can we just pause for a second? Just tell me what you're feeling and thinking as Brannon's been talking, Jennifer.
I feel like I know that he's right, and I just try to fight it.
Yeah. Yeah. Talk a little bit about that. Why do you try to fight it? What's the emotion that's inside that's fighting it?
Just because I don't want to lose him.
Yeah, there it is. You love him.
Yeah.
You love him and you don't want to lose him. And this is where you're getting stuck, because you love him. You don't want to lose him, but you also want to be treated with respect. You want to feel safe emotionally. You want to have a man who's going to lead you and your family the way that, that God intended him to do that. And so you're stuck between these longings and achings for the things that you know that you're worthy of. You love him. And if you were to go fight for the things you're worthy of, you're afraid that he won't come and fight for the same things with you. And so
Right.
you get stuck in this no man's land where the best option is to do what Brannon's saying, is to chase him and be like, if you would just hurry and do this stuff, then I could feel safe, then we could have a good relationship and everything will be good. But it never works that way, because then you're like, I made him do it all.
And to be frank, you're living in denial by doing that. Like, I am gonna, like, somehow, some way, all of a sudden he's gonna be motivated. All of a sudden he's working his recovery because, I'm pushing him so hard. And the denial is, and the reality that's hard, Jennifer, is he's not motivated in his own recovery, at least in the way that you want him to be. He's not, and that's the reality. And once you're able to look at that reality, as painful as it may be, and get out of this cycle, that's actually a good thing, Jennifer. It doesn't mean you're going to lose him quite yet, right? But what it does mean is that you can now say, okay, like, I'm not going to play that game anymore. I'm not going to be in denial. So now I'm going to look at myself and I'm going to say, okay, if this is the reality, what is best for me and my truths and my self-care to deal with this hard reality? Where do I go from here now? Right? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I just, what really gets me is, back when he was on drugs, I went and I got healing myself. I kicked him out. I said, I'm done. You get clean and you get out. And, and I was fine. And he did that. He did it for himself. I wouldn't let him back in until he did. And I mean, it was hard, but I did it. And I did a lot of internal healing. But now, when the porn started, it happened all over again. So why can't I be that strong again?
This is a great
That's a
question.
really good question. When you ask that to yourself, Jennifer, does anything rise to the surface? Ask that curiously to yourself. Why can't you be the same as you were before?
I guess because this time it involved like a hit to my self-esteem. Like, why it was the sexual part of it.
That's what's undermining you being powerful here and stepping into the hard, because there's this shame involved of like, of I'm not enough for him, or right? Is that what you're saying?
Probably.
Yeah,
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, but you're also, as you're answering that in such an honest way, which I am so grateful that you're here speaking this out loud, because I promise you there's probably 1,000 women right now that are going like, bingo, like me too.
Yeah.
So with that though, you're also coming up with part of the answer to your question that you started with today, is that if you've had success in being able to stay in your values, hold to those values, and you felt good about yourself, even though you were willing to like risk maybe not having him unless you were getting those other things too, but now you can't, and it was because you took a hit to your self-esteem, you lost a piece of yourself.
Mm.
Right? So part of the solution then, and sounds weird, is to coming to the conclusion of your question that you asked at the beginning, is you have to kind of go on a reclamation project to reinstill Jennifer, knowing who Jennifer is, knowing what her values are, and figuring out how to not take it personal that he's decided to go and cope in certain ways that and I know it's like every time we say this, it's hard to believe this, but that had nothing to do with you being good enough or not sexually. It had everything to do with coping in different ways because he just picked a new drug. Right.
Well, I would guess, and I would guess that his porn use has been probably since his adolescence and all through his drug addiction. And is
Yeah.
that accurate? Yeah. So long before probably you were even in the picture, that was there, right?
But it still hits the self-esteem button.
Right. It's easy for me to say, like,
Yeah.
Jennifer, I'll ask you this in your head, you'll know this, but like, are your deficiencies as a sexual being and as a woman the reasons why he acts out with pornography?
I don't know.
No way. No way. Right.
No way.
Like, we all know that. But so then it comes back to you and looking at, okay, why is this shame finding this opportunity to drive home that Jennifer's not enough? Right. Like, the last thing you want is something to prove true to you, some bit of shame inside of you that I'm not pretty enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not. Do you see what I'm saying? And so this is giving you an opportunity to really look that in the eye and say, okay, what do I need to do to accept myself, love myself, know that I'm a beautiful daughter of God who is absolutely enough? Like, what do you need to do to get there that has nothing to do with him, right? Because he can't give you that answer. You see what I'm saying?
Just no. I'm trying to be stronger. I'm trying. Like I don't know what to do from like this point on. Like I know that I just don't know what to do. Like
I think you do know what to do. And because you said it, you outlined it earlier.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But then you also acknowledge that my fear and my shame is in the way of doing it. So, like, do you see what I'm saying?
So let me ask you a
Tyler.
question, Jennifer. Let me just ask you this question, and let's just see what goes on inside of you and what your response is. All right. So I'm going to be your partner for a minute. All right. And in essence, I'm going to come to you and I'm going to say this. And I don't know, he may not totally feel this, but just answer it. Let's just explore it as an exercise. Hey, Jennifer, I really don't want you to leave. I actually like you being here. I like being able to have sex with you once in a while. And I like knowing that you're in my corner once in a while. I just want you to know that I want you to stay and I want you to keep all of those things. But I'm going to spend 3 nights a week at Rock Band. And I'm going to do a couple of other things with my buddies on the other nights. And I'll probably only lash out in anger 3 or 4 times a week because I'm kind of burned out and stressed, and then I'll work the rest of the time. But I really want to keep our relationship. What's your response?
Um, uh, no.
Why not? Like, why not? Like, we got a good thing here. I get to have sex whenever I want, occasionally, and you're there to kind of help be my mainstay and my big supporter. Like, this works great for me. Why don't you want to stay?
Because I need someone that's gonna work on themselves and to be a better person and be there for his family.
Okay, you're starting to get there now. Well, I am a better person. I've been sober for 3 years now. Can't you see how much better I am?
I mean, just because you go to meetings doesn't mean that you're working your recovery.
Okay, so go one step further now, Jennifer. What I'm looking for in a relationship, and go with principles. What are the principles you're looking for?
The values,
Yeah. What values?
family values, and
Okay, so the response back becomes something like, hey, partner, I'm glad you want to stay with me. I can't stay under those conditions because I value having some actual time to cultivate our own relationship. I value having some priority placed on family life, and it doesn't seem like there's a lot of time or energy coming that way. I value feeling safe in a relationship, and when there's this anger that comes, it feels unsafe and unstable, and it's hard for me to walk on eggshells all the time. So the answer to that is actually no, that doesn't work for me. Things would have to change in order for us to stay together.
right.
Uh,
That's where what boundaries come in.
yeah. And the boundaries, and this is where you're getting tripped up, is because boundaries can only be set right up to the level that we believe in the values or principles that we're setting the boundaries around. So if you had your self-esteem you got your wind knocked out of you with your self-esteem, that means that your level of being able to set boundaries is also now compromised. And that's why I think where Brannon's going is, what does Jennifer need to do to get herself going back in the right direction with her own confidence, her own knowledge of who she is? Because she'll naturally then start to put the boundaries in place that line up with where she's growing into.
And remember, the boundaries have nothing to do with him. They are yours. So
They're yours.
the boundaries are knowing where he stops and you begin. And your boundaries might affect the relationship and might, whatever. But a boundary is not, hey, you have to work recovery. That's not a boundary. A boundary comes back to what Tyler was getting you to right there, which is I have a value within me to have safety in a relationship, or to have family be really important in a relationship. And so you can give that to me or not. That's up to you, but that is my value. That is my boundary. Do you see what I'm saying? Now, if you choose not to respect that boundary, there will be some consequence for me, because I'm going to be authentic in this relationship. I'm not going to sell out because I'm scared. I'm not gonna bail because I'm worried that our relationship might not work. I'm gonna stay honest. You did that before, Jennifer. You know how to do that, right? It's a interesting thing where you have to let go of him and let go of his recovery to actually allow him to see if he actually wants to work it or not. And then you focus on you and fortifying your relationship with God, your support system, your own dailies, and get as healthy as you possibly can be to be possible to be the healthiest partner that you can be, and just to be healthy, right? And then hope that he comes around and you can stay in a relationship. But if that doesn't happen, then exactly what needs to happen will take its course, right?
I get he dumps a lot of emotional things on me, and he comes to me for answers. Like, well, I go to 12-step meetings. I'm doing recovery, so I don't understand why nothing's changing. And that's not my problem. I don't know anything about your recovery. So I don't know how to help him.
So what do you say?
I tell him that he needs to find some men to talk to.
What I would do instead of trying to figure out an answer for him in that moment, I'd back up and I'd say, that's got to be frustrating. That's got to be hard. Sounds like what you're doing isn't working for you. Yeah, you should maybe try something else. So it's like, you're not really going there with, you should do this, because he's bringing to you, there's that dynamic, right? Here, Jennifer, come take care of this and run the show here for me. And your boundary is, I don't want a man where I'm babysitting or I'm the mother or I want a man who's a man. And so I'm going to treat you as such, and I'm going to back out of this and hand this back over to you. And that will probably freak him out a little bit, and he'll push harder for you to come in and mother him, right? And if you stay consistent with, I'm not going to mother you, I'm your wife, be my man, be a husband, I'm going to step out of this and then watch and see whether you're going to do it or not, right?
But Brannon, to go along with what you were doing there, though, the kind of the example that you just gave, Jennifer, didn't mean she wasn't involved. It meant that she put accountability back in the court where it belonged, but she was still there to say, that must be frustrating for you. Oh, that's hard. Like, I can see why you're feeling that way.
I'm in a relationship with you. I care.
What are you going to do about that? Like, that's hard. Right. There's empathy there, which allows Jennifer to still be inside of her values while also putting the work or the accountability back in the court that it belongs. And then she can own her own accountability for, now I've got to go manage the fear and the worry as to whether or not he's going to figure out a new solution. I need my self-care. I need my connection. I need my further boundaries, whatever that is. But now she can put her energy into the things that can yield a result for her.
Yeah.
Rather than putting the energy into the things that she's still at the total mercy of whether or not he is going to do it or not.
Because the value is still there of love and empathy. I care about you. I'm connected to you. But your boundary, Jennifer, is, I no longer will allow you to consume me and use me for your okayness. And as long as I continue to do that, then I'm allowing myself to not have the strength and trust in the relationship that I truly need. Right. And so
I can love you without being the answer, basically.
Right. Which is gonna hit right on your shame of like, God, when I am the answer, I'm wanted, I'm desired, I'm important. So now I'm being asked to not step into that when I kind of like it, right? But it's not healthy, right, Jennifer?
Right.
Yeah. I want to share a story with you guys. I think it's applicable. Have you guys ever heard of Speed Queens? This is like a commercial.
No.
So Speed Queen, I've never heard of it. So apparently washers and dryers these days are just garbage. like Whirlpool, Maytag, whatever, Kenmore, like.
We're not sponsored by Speed Queen, by the way.
No, but
okay.
But like, so I've been researching. I've been on like Consumer Reports and researching, and like, because I've been in the market for 2 sets of washers and dryers, and I'm like, I don't want it breaking down a year from now or whatever, right? And so the Whirlpools look really nice. They're made in China. They have components that are really cheap and they break down. Like washers and dryers from the 80s and 90s, 10 times better than the ones that you get now at the store. And although from the outside they look good and they look like they're doing the right thing, they're not very good. So Speed Queens are made in America, commercial grade. They don't look great. They look basic, but they are tough. They're like the 80s and 90s, and you pay double for them. So like here I am paying double for this thing that does not look as nice as the other fancy ones that break down all the time, right? And here's my point. I've had a Speed Queen now for a few months, and it's awesome. I can throw so many sheets in that thing, and it just like churns them out and washes them, and just like load after load after load. We're just beating that thing to death. I trust that thing because that thing is it's real, it's strong, it has strength, right? It doesn't matter what it looks like on the outside. It doesn't matter what it's showing me on that surface. What matters is that when I put that load in, it shows up, right? You see where I'm going with this?
The heavy load.
So it's the same thing with the man. It's the same thing with your partner. Like, show me all the bells and whistles and what you're doing on the outside or whatever. When life hits, when it really comes down to rubber meets the road, do you show me, can I feel from you your authenticity, your realness, your strength, right? And real recovery is not happening. Real recovery creates weakness. It creates, he might be clean and sober from drugs. That's awesome. And 3 years sober, that's amazing. Good for him. And if he's listening to this, like, huge props to him. But sobriety and recovery are two different things. And for him to reclaim his heart and know who he is as a man, and a great reflector of that is how he's showing up with a woman, how he's showing up in a relationship with you, right? And so you're coming to us, Jennifer, and you're saying, "God, I think I still am in a relationship with the whirlpool, and I want a Speed Queen," right?
Coming out of a substance addiction already. It's interesting that you're telling her she needs to be married to a Speed Queen.
That's the name of the brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
do you see what I'm saying, though, guys? Does that make sense, Jennifer?
It does.
Yeah, I think that's why you're feeling so conflicted, is like and this is what makes it even more difficult too, is that you've seen his capabilities of doing the hard thing, because he's been in the process of conquering a really significant addiction already. So you know that there's Speed Queen in there. It's just that right now he still wants to be a Maytag.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does say things like, well, you see all the hard work I did staying off of drugs, be grateful for that. And so it's hard.
It is hard.
But you're saying, I don't want to settle for scraps. Like, I want real intimacy. There's something inside of you saying, I want more. I need more here. And I'm glad you're clean and sober, but in many ways probably feels like he's still acting out in his addiction when he's gone all the time playing music. He's not connected. He's not choosing you. Right. And so, yes, good job. I'm, grateful that you're getting better, but it's okay to want more, Jennifer. So,
yeah. We're kind of coming up to time here, Jennifer. Any other thoughts on your heart, or any other questions?
I don't think so. I do know that he's wanting to call in as well.
Cool.
So
nice. Love to talk to him.
Gonna be a couples, but I decided that I wanted to do it for myself.
I hope he's comfortable being called a washing machine.
Yeah, hopefully he can come in, and that'd be awesome if he wants to come on the show. That'd be great.
Yeah.
I just think we needed to do it separately first.
Yeah.
I'd love to have him. I'd love to talk to him. And I'm sure there's a lot of goodness in there, and I'm sure there's a lot of desire to be good. And but I think there's some work to go to really know himself and trust himself. So I'd love to talk to him.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Jennifer, what's your takeaway from our conversation today?
My takeaway is that I need to put myself first, and I need to focus on my needs right now. That will probably be best for both of us in the long run.
and hard for you to do, right?
Really difficult, but I love it, Jennifer.
Yeah.
I think you're
Got it.
spot on, and that's where you can put whatever energy you have to the best work. So thank you for coming on and sharing today. Thank you to our listeners for being here and listening, and in a certain way supporting Jennifer as she's on the show today. And you guys have an awesome day.